I'm sure Gary's gonna love my new drawing. Hey Gary, Hello everybody, I'm Gary the Muffin, and it seems like I'm stuck in another dark world. You know what that means. It's Deltarune time! This will be part 2 to last week's video. So if you want to see more Deltarune Pokemon, just watch that video after this one. Like the last video, this one will be spoiler free for the most part. I'll have a warning before we get into the spoilery sections for chapter 3 and 4. Now, let's jump into another adventure. With the first few Pokemon, I thought it would be cool to expand our little hero club we have going on. With Zillishoe and Profreet being inspired by the Fun Gang. I thought I'd continue with some honorary Fun Gang members. First of which is Noelle, the sweet little holiday inspired deer. For her design I wanted to parallel Profreet. Pokemon 1 and I'm already getting into the lore stuff. Okay, so, in the last video I explained how Ralsei is kind of likened to the devil, with his goat horns being the Prince of Darkness, and he's the one who tells you about the prophecy to banish the Angel's Heaven. This angel is heavily hinted at to be Noelle. This Christmas-inspired deer girl has a lot of religious imagery connected to her. Her outfit is that of an angel. The way she was strapped at the end of chapter 2, and her being inspired by the birthday of our Lord and Savior himself. Amen. And in chapter 3 and 4 there's even more little hints to that. I thought it would be interesting to make an angelic counterpart Pokemon to Profreet, a devilish goat, and a holy deer. I stylized their antlers to be shaped like the halo above an angel's head. This was really difficult to draw, and these antlers were originally too straight. Which we can't have now, can we? So I I bent them into more of a circle shape. While I originally wanted to give it actual angel wings, I ended up turning the sleeves of its dress into the shape of wings instead. This was a subtler way to include these. Just like the other members of the Fun Gang, she gets a heart shape somewhere in her design, with this one being on the chest. I really like how this Pokemon turned out. Profreet was my most popular Deltarune Pokemon last time, so I hope that Dearubim can measure up. Dearubim, from deer and deer, but also Cherubim, which is a kind of angel.
Dearubim, the Light Princess Pokemon, an Ice and Fairy type. Dearubim watch over people in need. They use their magical powers to protect and help those in need. However, if pushed far enough, they can release a devastating blizzard that can cover a small town. They have the abilities Fluffy, Fairy Aura, and the hidden ability Magic Guards.
Dearubim is an Ice type. In Deltarune, Noelle is able to use Ice magic. Isn't that right, Bertley? Classic Bertley. So I thought it would be very fitting to also do a little retcon and turn Profreet into a dark fire type. This way they're better counterparts. The Dreamers, you know, the goat family that Ralsei is based on, use fire magic in Undertale. So it's a very fitting type. Wait a second, that's not Bertley. That's my intentionally annoying and arrogant side character. Of course we can't have the Fun Gang without its leader, right? Chris. Or is he the leader? Chris seems to not even be in control of himself really. Instead, he is puppeted around by some strange entity. The player. That's right, it's you! I'm turning you into a Pokemon! Congratulations! I took inspiration from this reluctant relationship between Chris and the soul, and turned this Pokemon into Haunted Knight armor. I started off with the soul inside, the heart-shaped object, which would be trapped inside the chest plate of a knight's armor. This chest plate is shaped like a ribcage, which is fitting because, minor spoiler alert for chapter 4, the prophecy describes Chris as the cage, which makes me personally think that the soul isn't very happy with its situation either. This design of this armor was incredibly difficult. I wanted it to look human, but not too human. Like the haunted armor once used to be worn by a real person, but now it's the home of a Pokemon. I made the helmet cover half of its head similar to Chris's hair, and then I struggled with incorporating the scarf or cape that Chris wears into the design. To show this armor is haunted, I detached the arms and legs to make them float like ghost stuff. Pokemon usually strikes a balance between cool and cute, and the armor itself looks very cool, which is why the heart, being somewhat of a cute little thing inside, is a very good addition to this design. Though, when I used Chris's Dark World colors, this Pokemon ended up looking a lot like the Drifter from Hyper Light Drifter. Whoopsie! This is Hollowdin, from Hallo and Paladin. Paladin is a kind of knight, and this Pokemon is what you could call a Hollow Knight.
Hollowdin, the possession Pokemon, a ghost and steel type. The Pokemon itself is a heart-shaped creature inside the armor. It seems to be some kind of spirit that has been trapped inside an old knight's armor, but scientists aren't sure on its origin. It has the ability Soul Heart and hidden ability Pressure.
I gave it the hidden ability Pressure, as a reference to a certain alternate route in the game. If I had more time, I would have done a second take for this design in all honesty. I like the idea and concept, but I think something went wrong when coloring and rendering. I still quite like it, however, and to me the concept can carry this design. Okay, next up is a Pokemon inspired by the best, most beloved and most important character in all of Deltarune. Birdly! Okay everyone, I have to say it. I love Birdly. Genuinely, and also ironically. Maybe it's because of that one animation of him as Scott the Waltz, but I ironically and unironically love Birdly. And Curly. For this Pokemon, I wanted to do something a little different. I want to create a new Pokemon for my own Fakemon region. The Hamasam region. Yeah, I've been putting that in a lot of my recent videos. To those not in the know, I have my own Fakemon region inspired by the Netherlands. And I came up with a really fun idea that fit Birdly quite a lot. I am taking inspiration from most Deltarune fans' favorite Birdly moment, his death. In Chapter 2's Weird Route, you have to pressure and manipulate Noel into putting Birdly into a coma by using the attack Snowgrave. That's where the name Snowgrave route comes from. When you do this, you basically freeze Birdly to death like the 4-year-old chicken thighs in the back of my freezer. So I'm taking inspiration from the Dutch bird called the ijsvogel, comically meaning ice bird, but in English it's better known as the kingfisher. I'm mixing the ice bird with the concept of ice skating. This is quite fitting for a Dutch region, as ice skating was an incredibly common activity during the Dutch Golden Age, with the canals of Amsterdam making for excellent tracks during winter. The Dutch also played a pivotal role in the history of ice skating. I mean, they basically invented the modern ice skate with the curved steel blades. Before that, people would skate around on animal bones, which is very hardcore in all honesty. I struggled a lot with what I wanted the body to look like. I wanted to avoid having it resemble Quavink too closely, another one of my Pokemon. So I redid the body shape a few times. I gave it fluff around its neck, which extends to its little wings to resemble a scarf. It also gets a bob of feathers on its head, to look like children's beanie, and its feet are encased in ice to form ice skates. It's very fitting for this Pokemon to be separate from the rest of the Fun Gang Pokemon, because Burley is not really regarded as being a member of it. He's definitely the least important of them. However, I do like to headcanon him as an unironically good friend with Chris. Because the player tends to dislike Burley, I think Chris would actually love Burley, even if it's just to mess with the player. This is Froschick, from Frozen, Frost and Chick.
Froschick, the Ice Skater Pokemon, a flying and ice type. They're tiny little Pokemon that skate around on the frozen lakes and rivers of the north of the region. They use their ice skates to cut holes in the water and dive in for food. They're very clumsy Pokemon. They have trouble walking, are slow flyers, and even when ice skating they tend to fall. Froschick have a lot of trouble stopping once they get started. It can be found in the town Wildheim and the areas Freezeveld and Koi Lake. It has the abilities Flush Rush and hidden ability Reckless.
It's a real cute Pokemon actually. I know it isn't that Burley-like, but I couldn't pass on the opportunity to finally draw a Pokemon I have been wanting to draw for ages. And even then, it's still a Bluebird.
Hey everybody, it is me, Muffin G. Muffin. Do you want to be a big shot? Are you looking for out of words in your area? Well, have I got a special deal for you?
Just like and subscribe.
For only $4.99, and you too can be a
Big shot!
big shot like me.
Hey, shoot, get out of here, you old robots.
Consider my deal and join me in
Heaven!
Stay away from kids.
What? Hear something? I didn't hear anything just now. But it sounded like they were talking to you. Well, on to the next Pokemon. One of the Pokemon from my last video was Spamton, inspired by everybody's favorite salesman circa 1997, Spamton. And a lot of you asked me to draw an evolution to it. So I'm gonna do that now by taking inspiration from Spamton Neo. This guy ended up being a blast to draw. Spamton took inspiration from wooden puppets, because of Spamton's heavy puppet and Pinocchio motif. And I thought a fun way to expand on this concept is by having the silly strings actually serve a purpose. I started off with giving it a more developed body, so it could make the stilted wooden movements I envision it to have. Spamton Neo's body is a crude imitation of Metaton Neo, a beloved character from Undertale with quite a body, ooh la la. So the body had to be right. However, the face stays virtually unchanged. Just like how Spamton Neo's face is basically just a regular Spamton's head screwed on top of this sexy body. I went with a mushroom motif as well. I thought that would make for a good evolution of the concept. Parasitoid mushrooms that have infected the body and that basically control it. Like Parasect, but more weird and fantastical. I used the mushrooms to imply pompous clothing, and the cool arm cannon Spamton has to shoot his
Peepees!
The Pokemon would use this cannon to shoot spore blasts, as well as vines to wrap up foes. Like I said, I wanted the vines around its arms to serve more of a purpose. They go somewhere now, to these creepy floating mushrooms that hold it up. These mushrooms both mimic the wooden frames that control marionettes, as well as the wings on Spamton Neo's design. They also make the silhouette a lot weirder, which is what I wanted for this Pokemon. Weird and unsettling. And I really hope I pull that off. Now's your chance to meet a big shot! Mushronette, from Mushroom and Marionette.
Mushronette, the puppet Pokemon. A grass and ghost type. The floating mushrooms hold it up and make it mimic the movements of a human being. Why they do this is unclear. Some claim it tries to scare off intruders. Others say it tries to lure in people so it can eat them. It has the abilities No Guard, Shadow Tag, and Hidden Ability Download.
I hope this Pokemon managed to live up to the expectations you guys had for Puppeton. I'm very proud of it. I have 2 more Pokemon left for this video, but both of these Pokemon are based on Chapter 3 and 4. So, this is where the spoiler segment begins. You've been warned, because we're fighting the Roaring Knights. Yeah, that's right, the Roaring Knights. We finally know who it is. Say it in unison. It's Discord! Wait, who the hell said the rules? Anywho, the night left us with more questions than answers. But my personal belief is that the night is December Holiday, the sister of Noel Holiday, whose favorite pastime activities are playing guitar and being missing. In Chapter 3 you actually get to fight the knight, which is so awesome. But the battle is basically unwinnable. Well, of course I have beat him. No. But to actually stand a chance and not get one-shot by any of the attacks, you have to get the Shadow Mantle, an item which is already really difficult to obtain. Not to mention the fight itself is also still really difficult, especially if you use all your healing items in the battle with Tenna and you have nothing left, and then that deer hole decides to one-shoot you with a deer crab attack. Dear God, this is tough. I gave up on this fight, honestly. My determination wasn't strong enough. Before I get to my final night design, I wanted to show off another form it has. The cloak form, inspired by the Shadow Mantle as well as Eram, or Nightmare. It's this classic Zelda-like boss that you have to fight, and when you beat him, he grants you the Shadow Mantle. This was already a pretty tough boss, but a lot of fun, and definitely more fair than the Roaring Knight. The Pokemon is a living mantle, with this wide evil grin inspired by Eram's design, of course. It's a simple design, and only the appetizer before we get into my possibly best design of this video. Quiver before the might of Wendimare, cloak form. From Wendigo and Nightmare.
Wendimare, cloak form, the darker Pokemon, a dark type. In this form, the Wendimare is a relatively safe and docile, a prankster at most. Those who are foolish enough to pursue this elusive Pokemon, however, will never return. It has the ability Cursed Body.
This Pokemon could have also used another take on it, honestly, but it's fine. I think it's a great tease to the true Pokemon hiding beneath. Wendimare darker form. The Roaring Knight is the overarching antagonist of Deltarune. They're the ones opening all of these fountains, and it seems like they're getting help from Carol Holiday, Noel's mother, as well as Chris for some reason, who battles the player's soul in the most epic fight in the entire game. While Noel is getting late. What? I didn't say anything just now. I made the knight resemble a Wendigo, a zombie deer-like creature from Native American folklore. Well, it's the more pop culture version, at least. The knight itself also seems to take inspiration from this, but more subtle so. Also, I personally believe the knight is Des, a deer girl in the lore of Deltarune. Something seems to have happened to Des. Maybe she's stuck in some kind of dark world. Or something. Or she died and came back as the Roaring Knight. Whatever happened, it certainly wasn't good. In the source code of Deltarune, there's actually secret hidden messages from who we assume to be Des, calling out for help as she laments on being lost in the dark. I used the knight's basic body plan for this Pokemon, and then I added these massive antlers, shaped like hands. Hands seem to have some kind of importance in the world of Deltarune and Undertale. I'm not quite sure what this importance is, I just know that they are important. and both the Roaring Knight as well as Mr. W.D. Gaster, the infamous mystery man from Undertale, seem to have holes in their hands. I wonder what's up with that. I reference this with white dots on the antlers. In fact, Wendimare will have a lot of white markings over its body, which will reference bones and skulls, as well as the knight's unsettling grin. The only colors will be black and white, with a hint of red in the eyes. Very cool and edgy, and fitting for a mythical Pokemon. Wendimare, darker form.
Wendimare, darker form, the darker Pokemon, a dark type. Not much is known about this Pokemon. Rumors are spread under tales of missing people and horrible disasters. Ancient ruins discovered on a mountain say it will plunge the world in darkness and rule over it like a tyrant. It has the ability Dark Aura.
This honestly turned out to be an awesome design. I'm really happy with it. It's very cool. I find it quite fascinating that Wendimare resembles Xerneas quite a bit. It wasn't intentional when I drew it, but I think the connection there would be very interesting. Maybe it's some kind of corrupted form of Xerneas from another dimension. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think I captured the knight's whole deal well? And what do you think the knight's whole deal even is in the first place? Now that was fun. I hope you all enjoyed part 2 to my Deltarune video. Next week my channel is already turning 1 year old. And the week after, so will I. It's my birthday then. I'm not turning 1, I'm turning 20. And I wanted to celebrate it. I'm not yet sure how or what I'll do, but in the coming weeks there definitely will be something. So keep an eye out for that, and have another wonderful day. I have been Gary the Muffin, gotta catch me later.